Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today we are talking about Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, number 6, which hasn't shown up in this series yet, probably because I've talked about it a lot in other series and other videos and things like that. But I like in this series sometimes to pick a recording that may be a little bit off the beaten path. Some of you might think it's quite natural that I select this one, but it actually, historically speaking, would be rather more unusual, but it's magnificent. Don't worry about that. It's Herbert Blomstedt with the Staatskapelle Dresden. Now, this one is on Brilliant Classics, but it was originally one of those Berlin Classics, East German style recordings made by East German engineers. And it was wonderful. It's bounced around on a bazillion different labels. It's been licensed and relicensed and delicensed and unlicensed and really kind of incredible. It happens to be a very, very fine Beethoven cycle, one which has actually gotten steadily more respect as time has gone on, as Blomstedt has gotten steadily more respect as time has gone on. Because, when I was growing up, and there were, conductors like Bernstein and Karajan and Schulte and all those people around, real high-powered names. And before that, there were, just even more high-powered names. Blomstedt was regarded as a sort of, shall we say, decent musical, not terribly high-powered Scandinavian music specialist. And he went to East Germany. Of course, going to East Germany was not any way to make a career in the West at the time. And so he was with the Staatskapelle Dresden. Now, as we all know, the Staatskapelle Dresden is a fabulous orchestra. They were, to my mind, the great German orchestra, much better than the Berlin Philharmonic under Karajan, because their tonal qualities were such that they really, really suited the German repertoire. They sounded closer to orchestras like the Czech Philharmonic than the Berlin Philharmonic. I mean, the Berlin Philharmonic was all huge string tone, vast string tone, and blended massive brass sonorities. And that's, that was Karajan's thing. But the Staatskapelle Dresden has this wonderful unblended sonority. In other words, they have really characterful woodwinds and very distinct brass sounds within the brass choir. The trumpets and the trombones and the horns all sound very different from one another. And when they play together, you hear the composite sonority. You don't just hear this sort of undifferentiated massive tone. The strings were a little bit wiry and tensile. They were not the huge, rich, velvety sound that came out of the Berlin Philharmonic. But the result of that is that they had just this magnificent balance and texture. They had flavor. And you could tell when they were playing this music, you could hear the individual choirs making their contribution. It's a wonderful sound. And it happens to be an absolutely perfect sound for Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, because this is a symphony that, remember, it's just strings and winds and horns for the first two movements. Then the trumpets come in for like 2 notes, in the scherzo. Then finally trombones and timpani pop up with piccolos and all that for this thunderstorm, and the trombones stay, but the timpani go away for the finale. And so you've got these subtly changing instrumental ensembles, but by only a few instruments here and there. And it makes a big, big difference. And to have Blomstedt, who everyone now recognizes, now that he's a grand old man, everybody says, Blomstedt. Well, he was always a tremendous musician of the what you might call enlightened Kapellmeister type. In other words, he wasn't somebody who had this huge outsized ego or personality, who was always doing things to the music to put his personal stamp on it. He was a conductor who operated from within the score, whose best performances are the ones that sound most effortless. And this is one of them. It just flows. It flows like he's composing it as he's going along. The music has an unquenchable freshness and almost an inner glow to its beautifully blended and balanced sonorities. And oh my gosh, it's just an absolutely magnificent performance. Very, very beautifully recorded. So if you don't have the Blomstedt Beethoven cycle, you really should the first one. He's done another one with the Leipzig Gewandhaus, which is also very, very good. It's excellent, actually. But this one has a certain special quality because it has the vintage East German Staatskapelle Dresden as his partner. And a wonderful partnership it was. I mean, they just got along splendidly and made some really, really glorious recordings. And not just of Beethoven. They had some good Bruckner. Bruckner was so-so. Okay, Richard Strauss, that was good. And a few other things besides. Some Dvorak and Schubert, a really fine Schubert Symphony cycle. A lovely legacy. It really was. In fact, a Staatskapelle Dresden Blomstedt box would really be something. That would be fun if anybody ever bothered to do it. But that's okay. We have this Beethoven Pastoral. Give it a listen. Give it a listen. There are other we know there are many billions of other wonderful ones. Starting with Bruno Walter and Toscanini did a really good one, and Gunter Wand is fabulous, and I mean there's just plenty. There's no shortage of lovely pastoral symphonies. There really isn't. But Monteux with Vienna was also extraordinary. Karl Böhm, the list goes on and on. But this one really is special. It has wonderful, distinctive qualities. And for those reasons, it is one of the greatest recordings ever. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.